excited, everybody. We have Jane Frost today teaching us how to make little treasure boxes out of walnut shells. In my newsletter for today, I will have Jane's list of materials in there and all the step-by-step instructions with links to places where you could get walnut shells if you don't have them. I don't know if any of you have seen Jane's work. It's really fun. She does these great willow sculptures.
Hi, it's good to be here. Sorry about the muddle. I'm sitting in a very warm room with cold winter outside in the UK, and I have here walnuts and little things that you'll be doing in a minute.
I am very excited. I got your email with your list and the step-by-step instructions for how to do this, but I'm really excited for you to be able to share with everybody how to make little walnut boxes.
Yeah, it's tradition to eat them as well.
I bought them all shelled.
Oh, really? Wow.
They came in the mail from the Netherlands.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
So for those of you who don't have a lot of walnuts around, the World Wide Web is quite amazing.
One of the original ones, and this is why Jen got in touch, is because one of these, which I gave to my granddaughters a few years ago, was on my Instagram feed. And I'll show you the comparison of size compared to what I'm using today. But you can still do it. Look, you can still do it.
You absolutely can. So what are those actual measurements of those two walnuts you've got, do you know?
It's about 3 centimeters at least, maybe 4.
For the original one?
So that's nearly 2 inches, yeah.
Okay.
And that's just over an inch.
Okay, great. So everybody's got that reference. It's nice to have that reference.
Yeah, I did. I was amazed to get an award, a grant from our National Arts Council for a project that I've been working on for years, and it's called Fair Trade Material Matters, and it's about the sustainable materials. I use recycled materials. It's about the value of art and the value of self, and I collect people's carbon copies of people's self-portraits, and then I stitch them onto old blankets.
Oh,
and the Arts Council, in their wisdom, have supported me to stitch in my studio, as well as do some presentations.
Oh, that is terrific. Yeah, I have loved the quilt stories that you've done. I saw an intergenerational one where the kids drew the pictures, and then the elderly people, I think, created a quilt. Yes,
and I've just 2 days ago been invited to do another one with a youth group. It's a very special youth group in a museum, and they'll have stories from the museum pieces, and we'll make one about the history of the place called St. Ives.
Oh my goodness. So everybody, I hope you follow Jane, because this is going to be exciting to watch this develop.
I have lots of different hats.
Those are good. How did you get into making art in this way, like with the the natural materials? And
I started, my original training was in weaving and commercial spinning for the industry. So the textile industry, which is the second dirtiest industry in the world, socially and environmentally. I did that for probably 10 years, on and off, designing cloths, designing yarns, and I saw what happens to the world because of textiles. There are places where you can't drink the water. There's places where plants can't grow because of the damage. And there are places where people are very poor, close to slavery, because of our clothes. And probably because of that, I got ill. I got post-viral fatigue, or ME, and for about 5 years, I couldn't do much at all. And in recovery, I was doing stuff outside, because to get the daylight in the winter, very important, to absorb vitamin D. And as I got better, I was making using natural materials and weaving with them, which is why I make baskets out of natural found materials. But textiles is my love, and so I now use adapted materials, old clothes, old blankets to make my work.
Oh,
and I work with arts and mental health, and one of the things that I do with those groups is about transforming trash into treasure, so that you become very aware of your own value in doing it.
So many metaphors and talking points from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to engage our brain and our hands in that process.
Yes, and it's fascinating that, you know, when you're handling the stuff, you don't have eye contact. You're looking at this, so it's safe to say all sorts of things.
It sure is.
Because of tactile sensations, words change.
They sure do.
And metaphors change, yeah. Shall I show you a little of how I do this?
Yes.
I have this tiny little drill bit. So you just keep going very gently so that you don't crack the shell.
Yes. So you probably want to do that by hand so you can feel that pressure better than like
Yes, it
electric.
you probably could if you were used to using fragile woods.
Mm-hmm.
I like the sensation of doing things slowly.
Yeah.
And if you see on that one, each shell has got two holes on each side, on the long side.
Is it important to line those up as close as you can, or is there some forgiveness in?
On the first one, it doesn't matter too much, but then when you pick up the other one, those holes have to line up fairly closely. And something about the shape of the shell, there will be an obvious place to put it. So that one will go there.
Okay.
And there'll be like a seam inside the shell that's alongside that. And I don't know if you can see in this shell, I haven't cleaned all that inside, but I will do that with a knife.
Okay.
That's why you have to be gentle.
Yes.
I'll undo it a bit and pull it out again. There we go. It's good to go wrong on screen, then you can see how to put it right.
Yeah, then the rest of us can learn, because it never goes wrong the first time.
Yeah. It's actually, I don't think I ever deliberately do things wrong, but with teenagers, it's really good to let them put me right.
Right? Kids need to know that even adults mess up, and
yeah.
we can accept that with grace and humility.
Yeah. And I like working with teenagers.
They're kind of great to work with.
They are, yes. Yeah. And the ones who have little confidence with their peers are often very good with older people.
Why do you think that is?
Sometimes their life experience has taught them older people will be gentler. Not always, but sometimes.
Right.
Peers can be quite cruel.
Oh, for sure.
And challenging. If you don't look right or have the right clothes and all those things. Yeah, we now have four holes. Can you see those?
Yes.
Yeah. And we'll do the same on the other side, so that for some of the holes will be to put a button on, and some of them will be to put a loop on. We have decided not to use disposable products over Christmas too much, so we have to find alternatives to crackers, you know, on the dinner table. So we're going to find things in walnut shells might appear instead.
Nice. So crackers, not everybody is familiar with that tradition. Could you share a smidgen about that?
Yeah, in the UK, it's a very big tradition of having a cracker with a snap inside, and either between courses or at the end of the meal, you pull the cracker and the snap goes, and there's a hat inside, there's a joke inside, and either a toy or a treasure or something very pointless.
Just a little fun.
Yeah, and sometimes there's a game. So we're trying to work out what to make or what to have instead.
Yes. So have you come up with any? Not to give it away to your family, but have you come up with any potential ideas?
Well, we have some nice tubular cardboard boxes that are recycled from bath salts, actually. And we've already, for the children, that's easy because you can put like dice or little dolls or things like that. But for adults, it's a bit trickier. We haven't come up with
easier to please.
Yeah, well then the children haven't done it so often, so their expectations aren't too high, maybe.
What has been the best thing you've ever opened in a cracker?
Oh, now that's interesting. My mother-in-law used to make silver jewellery, and one year she made jewellery for everybody in the family.
Wow.
So
that
the
was
men,
a special one to open up.
It was. So some of the men got cufflinks, the women got earrings or rings. They were amazing. She'd made the crackers as well. She was quite a special lady.
Yeah. Oh, that inspires me for an idea. I bet you could put a toilet paper tube in there.
Yes,
and then
yes, you can.
Presents and then wrap it in wrapping paper, and then that's a nice way to have a surprise during dinner and a pretty way to decorate your table.
It is. Yes, it is. It's really nice. Yeah. So those, I think that's all the holes.
Great.
And I have tiny little buttons and beads.
Fun. And have you collected those over time?
Yes, I have. Well, in fact, again, my mother-in-law's button box I inherited, and it's like a little chest of drawers.
Oh my goodness!
Because she was a very good dressmaker, and nobody else wanted. At the time I didn't have a use for them, but they were beautiful. So this is a combination of, I don't know where some of these come from or what. I think they were beads in necklaces, some of these. But these are tiny buttons. I have some fine wire. I think all these elements of what we're using are in the list, but if I've forgotten anything, tell me.
Okay.
So this is, again, recycled wire. If you know anybody who does electronic stuff, they've always got wire.
All right.
And they're always chucking it out into the bin.
Yes, so, a friend of mine is an electrician, and he's got a huge mound of big rolls of wire.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll have to dig through that for some of the finer stuff.
So this, I don't know if you can see, that's the one I did already. So I put the little button on first.
Yes.
And then that one's just got a single hole. I just push that on.
How pretty.
And then you put, I'm going to give that a twist actually so it doesn't slip. And then I can pull. And you don't want to use your scissors for the wire because you'll blunt the scissors.
To get some wire cutters.
Yeah.
Right tool for the job.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. So that's done that. And that's all it needs really, is just that little twist.
Uh-huh.
And then I'll trim. Is that in view? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And then just bend it back on itself. And like I say, I haven't cleaned it up. I should have done this before. I've done it the wrong way round, sorry. Should have cleaned that up because I don't want to blunt my knife on that wire.
Yeah, right.
So these are just bits that will flake off as it dries out a lot. Mm-hmm. I don't know, did you read the little limerick about the walnut?
I did not read it out loud today.
Ah.
I have read it.
Because we haven't got all the elements of the limerick, because when I first got these, they had their green coat on. When they're just fresh off the tree, they have a green coat and a white fleece inside the green.
As soft as silk, as white as milk, as bitter as gall, a thick wall, and a green coat covers me all.
I find myself telling students all the time, if you can't see what you're actually meant to be doing, then the job is harder. And I always end up with the table covered in stuff.
Right. Keep clearing it off to the side.
And you don't want the wire in the carpet either, because that hurts.
That'll hurt.
So the next piece is to make a cord to make the hook. And I have leftovers, so I can choose which might go. I think the gold around that would look good.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to have things to do with the little bitty leftovers.
It is, yes, and I have a lot of those. I have, over the years, because I've been doing textiles for so long, and because I come from a family of makers, both my blood family and my maker's family, if you like, and I have been left over the years the contents of 2 textile artist studios.
Wow.
Which is wonderful, but it's quite a problem as well, because you have to select out the stuff that you really know you're going to use and hand on the rest. and it has meant that I have some beautiful yarns that I would never have bought. Things like this that I would never have bought myself. Yes. Because they're expensive.
Right.
But they're just gorgeous. Silk.
Interesting that the dilemma of inheriting or being gifted things or just collecting things over time, there is this point of how do we make that decision of what to hang on to and what to let go of.
You start by making a slip knot, which is a loop. Yep. Go around the loop, inside the loop, and then pull the end through the first loop.
Right.
And you can do it just with fingers, but I've got a little tiny crochet hook here, which makes the loops much tighter and condenses it much better than my fingers would. The thing about inheriting and keeping stuff, you just end up falling over things. Almost literally. One of the studios that I inherited the contents was a long-term family friend. Now, what I'm doing is it's a crochet chain. Mm-hmm. So I've got a loop, I pull a loop through and pull it tight. Got a loop, put a loop through, and can you see that happening? Yes. I'll move that so it's better.
Sometimes in crochet, you don't want to have pull things too tight. You almost want to have sort of like a looser tension. Is this one where you would like more of a tighter tension?
Yeah, because you're not going to go back into the loop. Uh-huh. When you're doing a crochet fabric, you want the loop so you can put the hook back in. Yeah. But with this, it's just going to be a single chain. With the studio stuff I inherited, I've ended up being able to select the best tools and the best materials and pass on things that I don't need anymore. And it's been wonderful. A beautiful loom now, yeah. And a spinning wheel and all sorts of things.
Wow.
And lovely containers for putting buttons and beads in. And I've spent several evenings sharing out yarns with other textile artists who use different techniques and wanted all the fine materials, mm-hmm. which is lovely to do. This chain wants to be probably about 3 inches long, and that gives you a nice length to deal with, and you can always trim it down later.
One question I had was when you were putting the bead and the button on the front with the wire.
Yes.
You need to make sure to leave a little space for this thread to be able to go through.
the thread will go on that side and tie onto that side, and there'll be a loop, and it just hooks over. So if I show you on this one, so it's a little bit loose, but not very, and that just hooks over. Yeah.
Yep. So just enough space for that little tiny chain
Yeah.
to hook under it. Okay.
So you could do a long chain and cut it in half and use half each. It's slightly more efficient on the making, but it doesn't have to be efficient, this process, unless you're planning to make dozens of them.
Good point. How do you then attach that chain into the walnut?
And you see this, I can use a different one that I've already got ready. And if I've drilled the hole big enough, you'll see I can put this hook through there.
Oh yeah, the little crochet hook fits right through.
Yeah, and I can pull this thread through the walnut, and that's how I do it. You could do it with a needle. The needle would have to be a big enough eye for the thread, but not too big for the hole in the walnut. This tiny crochet hook works perfectly. I have seen somebody do it with a piece of wire. They just hooked a piece of wire through and pulled the thread through the hole. That works.
That's a clever solution.
It is, very, yeah. So,
and then do you tie knots so that it doesn't slip all the way through?
On the other side, yeah, on the other side. This might be, I might have to make that hole a bit bigger.
Kind of adjust as you go, right?
Yeah. I think it's, unless you're in a position of trying to sell things like this, which I wouldn't. I haven't done these to sell. I've done them as gifts, very deliberately, because they take time, and because you want to think about what's going on there, and who you're giving it to.
What is the secret message that you want to give?
Yeah. I will have to check to see how big that is going to be. And what I will do with this one is put the crochet hook into the chain and pull the single end through the chain. But it varies depending on the thread you're using. Actually, that needs to be a bit tighter, I think. I'll try it again. Yeah, that'll be fine. It depends on the thickness of the thread, the size of those holes, how easy it's going to be to pull that through, and how fixed it feels. So I think this won't take much fixing. I will pull that through there. And I realised what I could do is a little video so that you could add it to the instructions, so that I can show this knot maybe better.
Do that. Yeah, and for anybody wanting the written instructions that Jane is talking about, sign up for the newsletter that I'll send out in a few days at hopeandhealingathome.com, and there's a link in my bio to that as well. And I'll put all of Jane's connection links in there as well.
And this I have a blog which I haven't put much on recently, but it's about not buying stuff and making stuff. It started at the beginning of lockdown last year because people couldn't go out and they were, what can I do, and all those things. And it was great fun because it's a group that people contributed their ideas and said, how would you do it? Which is really nice.
That will be fun to look at.
Yeah. And a lot of it was recycling.
It's amazing when you're thinking of specific people and you're looking at what you have on hand, how clever you can be in creating something.
Yeah. So that's how that looks. And I will because this is now tied into the chain, I can cut this chain and it won't come undone.
Nice.
I'll do another knot first though, just in case.
Back up.
Yeah. And this is scissors.
Yeah, there's something fun and unique about creating a gift for someone, even if it's the card for the gift, or
Yeah.
of how you think about that person while you're making it. And it's kind of a special time.
Yes, it is indeed.
Oh, look at that.
And so on that side, you've still got 4 holes. And that's not quite long enough, so I would need to make a longer chain and do a similar technique to the loop, but you make it go back on itself. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
So there's a knot there. That's the 2 ends. So it's gone in there, through that side, back out, and then across to the other side, both of them, and tied over the middle. And like I say, I think, yes, it's like a figure of 8, exactly, and it makes like a hinge.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think doing a little video, because I think this will go on the blog.
Terrific.
Be fun to do.
Yeah, and if anyone who's watching right now has an idea for a way to make something for someone else this time of year, it's kind of fun to share those ideas.
Yeah.
And then you find a little piece of paper and write a secret message to the person.
Yeah, and to roll it up, it would need to be narrower than that. And this time I'm using these scissors because I don't use my fabric scissors on paper.
It's important to take care of what we have.
Yeah, it makes a big difference actually. It really does. So to roll that up that tight, using the other end of the crochet hook and just rolling the paper around it. Because just doing it by hand, you sometimes crease the middle.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I'll pretend I've written something in there. Now you could, of course, if it's big enough, you could put 2 things in.
Depends on what size walnut shell you happen to get.
It does indeed. I might have to trim the end off that one.
Well, and that's a good reminder to make sure to measure it before you write your message on, so you're not having to cut part of your message off.
Yes. Well, and before you roll it, write the message on, because it's hard to write on a piece that's already been rolled.
Yeah, because it wants to keep curling on itself, right?
Yeah. I can use this to do the tie. Encourage it not to unroll. If you've got nice fine fingers, which I don't have, you can probably do the knot without a crochet hook.
But this is working pretty tiny, so yeah, you'd either need nails or be really good at pinching tiny things with your fingers. So having the right tools really helps.
You probably noticed my fingers aren't very elegant.
They make very elegant things. They have a lot of skill in those fingers of yours.
Thank you. So I would just need to do the hinge now.
How fun.
Yeah.
You could use those as the crackers.
Well, it's a possibility. We might be doing that.
I was just thinking it would be really pretty just to have this like treasure chest of a walnut on each person's plate, like a real simple, elegant decoration, but they can't open it until, I know it's not the same as like pulling apart the cracker and getting the snap.
No, but and we're trying to think of, because we have a little 2-year-old in the family now, and she hasn't experienced crackers yet because with lockdown she didn't get family parties last year.
Right. Helpful Art Therapy says she loves this, such a sweet idea, and even a better keepsake.
Yeah, thank you. So
I think that's great. Thank you so much for being willing to share that and your time. I hope people will post pictures of or ideas that were inspired from today and share that with us.
Thank you.
Jane, is there anything that you wanted to wrap up and kind of conclude with before we sign off?
Keep things simple. Think about where your materials come from and who provides them and what provides them.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And again, we'll post, you said you're going to make a blog and a couple little more videos to show those details more clearly. And we'll make sure to get all of that linked into the newsletter. And when I post, I'll even remind people of how to get in contact with you and all of your support stuff. And good luck. Congratulations on the grants and these new projects you have coming up.
Yeah. Well, and bless you all for a really happy Christmas.
You too.
Bye. Bye.